Hello. I'm Josetta Yvonne, your book bae, coming on with a quick book review today. I hope this video finds you well this Sunday. So I just wrapped up the book, Anywhere You Run by Wanda. It is such a page turner. It is 300 and, 82 pages. This book came out in 2022. It is a suspense, mystery, thriller, and a historical fiction. So I can't remember who recommended this book to me, but I picked it up and I have no regrets. So let me get into the synopsis so you can see if you would like to pick it up too. So it says here, it's the summer of 1964, and 3 innocent men are brutally murdered for trying to help Black Mississippians secure the right to vote. Against this backdrop, 21-year-old Violet Richards finds herself in more trouble than she's ever been in her life. Suffering a brutal attack of her own, she kills the man responsible. But with the color of Violet's skin, there is no way she can escape Jim Crow justice in Jackson, Mississippi. Before anyone can find the body or finger her as the killer, she decides to run. With the help of her white bow, Violet escapes. But desperation and fear lead her to hide out in a small town in rural Georgia, unaware that danger may be closer than she thinks. Back in Jackson, Marigold, Violet's older sister, has dreams of attending law school. Working for the Mississippi Summer Project, she has been trying to use her smarts to further the case of the Black vote. But Marigold is in a different kind of trouble. She's pregnant and unmarried. After news of her sister's involvement in a murder brings the police to her door, Marigold sees no choice but to flee Jackson too. She heads north, seeking the promise of a better life and no more segregation. But has she made a terrible choice that will threaten her life and that of her unborn child? 2 sisters on the run, one from the law, the other from social shame. What they don't realize is that there's a man hot on their trails. This man has his own brand of dark secrets and a disturbing motive for finding the sisters that is unknown to everyone but him. So that is the synopsis. Again, this is based in the early 60s, and it is in Jackson, Mississippi. And the historical fiction, I really love how it is integrated into the story, and it's not just a suspense, but also a teaching moment for those that are unaware of certain parts of history, which I think is really great. Let me read this quote here from Zora Neale Hurston that the author also included in the book at the very beginning. I can look back and see sharp shadows, highlights, and smudgy in-betweens. I have been in sorrow's kitchen and licked out all the pots. Then I have stood on the peaky mountain wrapped in rainbows with a harp and a sword in my hands. That's Zora Neale Hurston, her book called Dust Tracks on a Road. And then the author goes on to say, as a note, this book contains certain terms that I would never use or condone. However, as the story takes place in the Deep South of 1964, I wanted to lend as much authenticity as possible to the dialogue and narration. Sadly, such terminology was prevalent during that time. And so the story kind of begins just about the guys that's going through there in Mississippi to help people get their voting rights And we all know the story of those young people being murdered during that time when they were helping to fight for other people's civil rights, especially African Americans. And then it goes into the story of the two young ladies, Marigold and Rose. Oh, I'm saying Rose. Rose is actually their oldest sister, but the story really delves deeper into Marigold and Violet's story of how they have become to be where they are in life, and really just what led them there. You know, I think many of us, we start out in life on one path and we end up on a totally different path that we never even imagined. And I can remember the saying, people always said that when you plan things, God laughs at us. And that's exactly what's going on in this story. They're planning things and they're just not panning out as they had hoped. But what I will say is at the end, it was God that had a better plan for them, which I thought was it was a blessing to see it. It didn't, you know how you always see a happy ending? I wouldn't call it a happy ending, but I would say it was still probably a blessing in disguise in the ending. So to go a little further, let's see what else here I can give to you without giving any spoilers. So in the book, as it said on the back, Marigold works for the Mississippi Summer Project, which was a volunteer campaign started by several civil rights groups, including the NAACP and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, with the goal to prevent Negroes, Black people, from being forced off of jury rolls. And to do that, they had to get people registered to vote. If you don't vote, you don't serve on the jury. That's why all white jurors prevailed in the South. We were doomed before the trial even started when we went to court. So Marigold was the secretary that was involved in all that groundwork. And she just talks about the things that Black people went through to try to even be able to vote. And how there were locals there working against them called the Mississippi Citizens Council that were trying to go against any type of integration, that wanted to keep everything separate. And they were basically referred to in the book as members that were probably associated with the Ku Klux Klan. So here she says, Mississippi had no shortage of ways to keep us from voting. The so-called intelligence test required Negroes to write out sections of Mississippi Constitution. If you failed to cross a T or dot an I, you were disqualified from voting. If you failed to interpret the state constitution to the satisfaction of the circuit court, you were disqualified from voting. Some people with PhDs, Black people, were turned away for failing that requirement. We had even heard stories of people who denied the right to vote because they failed to correctly count the number of jelly beans in a jar or predict the number of bubbles in a bar of soap. The tester's job was to bring back his or her denied application along with everything they were told as to why their application was denied. The lawyers used that information for the various petitions and documents we filed in the court. So even though things were changing legally, locally, things were going on as status quo, and they were still having to fight and push for their rights to be respected. And so, of course, that's going on. That is part of the backdrop in the book, which is part of the historical fiction. But in the meantime, with all that going on, of course, Marigold and Violet's white boyfriend Dewey during that time, and Marigold's boyfriend, their lives are unfolding as well. And their search to, escape what is going on in Jackson, Mississippi for a better life is very strong, and understandable. Moving along from that part, I loved how this is toward the end when Violet, the baby sister, is giving Marigold some advice in regards to her sister's partner, Roger. And she says, "You're smart, pretty, but you sit around waiting for some man to tell you that instead of telling the man, you want all them things. Beautiful things don't ask for attention. They command it." Marigold smiled at me. I like that because sometimes people, in order to keep the peace outside of them, they don't ask for what they want. But then what happens is they don't have the peace inside of them because they're trying to keep the peace outside of them. So then they have internal turmoil. So I don't want to give you guys too much, but yeah, if you're looking for a great book to pick up, suspense, historical fiction, based on, two sisters' lives. There's some love in here that was unexpected, that really made me smile and so happy because we are so deserving of love. And I think that we should never forget that. We should never settle for scraps that is being thrown at us. And I'm so thankful that in the book it even shows where there were certain ones of us that were fighting for rights alongside our allies. And then there were those of us that were believing that we should just be happy with what we got. This is how things are. Things aren't gonna change, and you're fighting the fight for nothing. I love that it showed that we weren't all on the same page, even culturally within our race as Black people. Some of us were like, "You're wasting your time," and other of us was like, "No, we're not." We have allies. We have people that believe in this. We think we can move things forward. And I'm so happy that we had people that did not give up, that kept fighting. And as we fight today, I am so grateful that they didn't give up, because those rights that are in place has served us well and made us better and diverse. So yeah, if you're looking for something great to read, a great mystery, historical fiction, suspense, with a little bit of love, check this out. Check it out. And it's not only relationship love, but self-love. Yeah. This is it. Anyway, that is all. I will see you guys again soon. Take care. Have a good night. Wishing you inner peace, positivity, and power. Bye-bye. Take care. See you soon. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe also. Bye-bye.